He just went silent. How should I react? We're going to dive into this conversation today. So, I want to tell you where this was birthed. I got a text message from someone asking me the following question, or excuse me, a comment on my YouTube video asking me the following question. I thought, let's lean into this. So it says, is it wrong to react when he goes silent or ignoring you and even says to you he is busy to speak to you, but have the time to be on social media live and chats with people and enjoy himself, but ignores you? How is it wrong to react? Well, first off, it is not wrong to react. In other words, it's how you react that matters most. But if you're in relationship with someone and they go silent on you, I mean, that's kind of defiling the sanctity of the relationship. That's insulting the sanctity of a relationship. But I think it's important to understand and examine why people go silent, whether it's a man or woman, and then decide how to best react for yourself. So we're going to dive into this conversation. Why do men go silent? Fear, uncertainty, doubt. And when they're silent, they're either avoiding or they're processing. Let me repeat that. They're either avoiding or processing. What might they be avoiding? Their feelings about you, their feelings about relationship, their feelings regarding commitment. You see, the reality today, particularly for those of us in midlife, is that many of us in midlife don't really have an understanding, a purpose, an end goal, or a plan to be in a significant relationship with somebody. Let me repeat that. A purpose, a plan, an end goal. Like, what's the point of this relationship? What's the purpose of this relationship? You see, sadly, many people enter into the dating marketplace today focused on attraction, entertainment, romance, and physical connection. Biologically speaking, it's very natural because romantic relationships are a bit different than familiar relationship, friendship-based relationship, or even relationships with people in your professional capacity. You see, what makes romantic relationships different is a level of physical attraction. It's that connection on a romantic level. It's that connection to be companionship, to have companionship, connection, and physical intimacy. That's what makes romantic relationships different. But you see, people are dating today from a very cavalier place. They don't have, I think the real problem is they don't have a plan or an end goal for oneself, or at least men oftentimes don't. And from a woman's perspective, that can be rather challenging. Partially because women tend to, more often than not, bond with men through physical intimacy. And once you've bonded, once you become attached to someone, God forbid you're attached to somebody who's incapable of processing their emotions, to navigating their feelings. And so if they avoid their feelings, they become emotionally unavailable. And yet there are plenty of men who also process their feelings, and they might need a little bit of silence. But let me just say this to the women watching. A man who's just simply processing his feelings, he may take a very short period of time to do that, versus that person who's avoiding their feelings. They're avoiding the confrontation. They're avoiding, well, in their mind, it's a confrontation, or avoiding being genuinely honest with you. So, how should you react when a person goes silent? I'm going to give you 7 examples to lean in. And this is both for the beginning parts of a relationship and for those in a seasoned relationship. Let me say that. For those that are in the very beginning of the dating process versus those that have probably been together for maybe 6 months or longer. We're going to lean into that. So, first thing, and this is in no particular order, but I invite you to lean into this, is 1, when you notice that a person has gone silent. How long is silence? Could be a day, could be 2 days, but certainly if you've reached out to someone and they haven't responded back in roughly at the most 48 hours, okay, but usually 24 hours. By the way, this is for people that are well, we should differentiate the early stage of dating versus those relationships where there's been physical intimacy. I would say if it's the brand new early stage of dating, you got to give about 48 hours, okay? Maybe 72 at the maximum. For those that where you're having regular sex together, I'd say 24 hours is the max. And then you should probably, that at that point, you'd observe their silence. Now, first thing to do, pause before panic. Pause before panic. Someone write that down. Pause before panic. In new relationship, if he hasn't texted you in a couple days, don't assume the worst. He just might be busy and not ghosting you. Pause before you panic. Now, for those relationships where it's more seasoned, he may be processing stress at work or shutting down emotionally. Just don't jump straight to he doesn't love me anymore. Now, it might mean that he has ended the relationship in his mind. He just hasn't gotten to it yet. But don't panic. And let me tell you why. If a relationship isn't right for someone, it's not right for both. Let me just say this to you. If a person isn't capable of leaning into something deeper, if it's not right, it's not right for one, it's not right for both. And if someone has come back, if taken a little bit of a pause, they're processing, and if they come to you with an open, honest heart, then you have to evaluate, do you want to continue being in a relationship with someone who does go silent for a period of time? And by the way, if he avoids his feelings, if he avoids leaning into that time space, then you have to ask yourself, does he respect you enough to be in a relationship? Now, you said earlier, it's very tricky because we can get attached to someone who may not be right for us. This is where we have to stand in our power, in our sovereignty. This is where we must lean into our self-love. I wrote a book about it. By the way, this has nothing to do with dating relationships, but it's about honoring yourself and being objective. Is this person really the right person for me? Does he respect me? Does he cherish me? Does he have a plan? Does he have an end goal? If he doesn't have those things, then I invite you to lean into your own sovereignty and say, the best relationship I have is the relationship with myself and not being dependent on another human being for our happiness. Okay, he's gone silent. Number 2, check the pattern, not the panic. Check the pattern, not the panic. Is this a one-off or has he flaked before? In a new relationship, is this just a one-off or has he flaked before? One silence doesn't mean he's a villain, okay? Sometimes we just get caught up in our stuff. And again, think about the early stage of dating. In many cases, you haven't built the deep roots of trust to sustain a long-term relationship. Did you hear that? The deep roots of trust. This is why oftentimes you must be mindful before you're physically intimate with someone, because you can become attached to a person who may not be a fit for you. And so I invite you to lean into this and remember to check the pattern, not the panic. But in a seasoned relationship, has he historically gone silent during conflict? If so, this is likely about emotional regulation and not rejection. Again, if it's been a pattern, then it might be he doesn't know how to regulate his emotions. But at the same time, I think anytime somebody goes, again, he may not know how to regulate his emotions, doesn't mean he's ready to leave the relationship, but you have to ask yourself, do you want to be with a person who doesn't know how to regulate their emotions? Folks, I think it's time that men in particular grow up. It's not about being a provider, protector in a financial sense, in a physical sense. It's about being a provider of emotions and a protector of the heart. Let me repeat that: a provider of emotions and a protector of the heart. By the way, I just wrote a short blog about this, but I want to read it to you all really quickly because I think it might illustrate a point. Just bear with me. I have to pull it up. But when a man has evolved into a provider of the heart and a protector of emotions. He's no longer just a partner. He's a sanctuary. He listens without fixing. He holds space without ego, and he shows up with emotional maturity instead of bravado. He doesn't run from the hard conversations. He leans in with presence. This man isn't providing his worth through a paycheck or a power move. He leads with the heart. In a world filled with emotionally unavailable grown-up boys, this kind of man is rare. And when you meet him, don't play it cool. That's the kind of man worth investing in. This was a blog I just posted on my Instagram page. I'm inviting you to lean into paying attention to these and ask yourself objectively, is this man worth investing in, or is he just a grown boy? Number 3, don't fill in the blanks with fear. That's a natural reaction to fill in the blanks with fear. I am guilty of doing this. If you have an anxious attachment style, it's very common to do that. By the way, it's 11:11 right now. Don't fill in the blanks with fear. If it's a new relationship, your brain will try to make up a story. He must be seeing someone else. Take a deep breath. Take a deep breath. Again, observe actions. Do their actions match their words? Pay attention to this. And if it's a seasoned relationship, silence can trigger old abandonment wounds. Notice that your fear versus what's his behavior. Again, I said this before. This happens with my friends, my children, everything. I always go into what did I do wrong? Oftentimes I find that that's not the case. But if someone is going silent, then it invites us to have the deeper conversations of what's the purpose of this relationship? Why are we doing this? What is our plan? What is our end goal? Oh, I just want to have a good time. Let's have a good time. Let's just be in the moment. Folks, I'm telling you, or at least my perception is, you can either have a short-term mating strategy or a long-term mating strategy. A short-term mating strategy oftentimes leads to casual relationships, and a long-term mating strategy is about developing a plan with one another. Take a look at Lewis Howes, who recently got married. If you haven't seen his podcast, The School of Greatness, he and his now wife, Martha, they had a plan from the very beginning. He approached it with a plan. A man with a plan. If you're approaching it cavalierly, then it's only about companionship, connection, and sex. Because if you're not committed to commitment, and what's the purpose of this relationship? And I know this goes against most teachings because 90% of humans are emotionally, dysfunctional. I'm inviting you to hold out for that rare 10% of that guy who clearly knows what he wants, and he doesn't need to go silent to regulate his emotions because he can lean into the harder conversations right from the very beginning. Number 4, send a grounded message. Now, this is optional. Send a grounded message. If it's a new relationship, something like, hey, I noticed I haven't heard from you. Hope all is well. Short, warm, and not needy. Hey, I noticed I haven't heard from you. Hope all is well. Short, warm, and not needy. And if it's a seasoned relationship, I'm here when you're ready to talk. I want to understand what's going on, not push you. I'm here when you're ready to talk. I want to understand what's going on, not push you. Now, in that space, you have to be reevaluating the relationship for yourself. You have to ask yourself, is this a grown child? Or is this a person who just needed a little bit of space to process their emotions and feelings? We all need a little space. 24, 48, 72 hours, so long as you're up front. By the way, a man can simply say, hey, I need a little time to process how I'm feeling. I might be off the grid for a little bit, but I promise to return. I've done that before. I need a little time to process what's going on. I just need a little bit of space. But at least being upfront about it, not leaving someone dangling. Now, certainly you can make up stories when someone says that. And they might be valid stories. They might be valid stories because today's relationships aren't focused on building trust through social activities, hobbies, mutual interests, spending time with family and friends. It's oftentimes both based on entertainment, romance, and physical connection. And it's all based on, how's your day going? Did you have a good day? I hope you had a good day. I'm inviting you to go a bit deeper. Number 5, don't chase, don't freeze, just be. Don't chase, don't freeze, just be. If it's a new relationship, if he's not responding, you don't need to send 7 follow-up messages. That's not communication, that's panic. If he's not responding, you don't need to send 7 follow-up messages. That's not communication, that's panic. In a seasoned relationship, give him space without shutting down emotionally yourself. Stay open but grounded. When I say give him space, the truth is he's already taken space. So you're honoring the space, but you need to honor your space as well. What's going to nurture your soul? It's not about getting into a pissing match with him because, as I said repeatedly, if it's not right for one, it's not right for both. And that's okay. That's okay. Don't chase, don't freeze, just be. Number 6, use the silence as data. If it's a new relationship, if he disappears for days with no explanation, this is information. It tells you about his communication style. And if it's a seasoned relationship, if his silence is his go-to during hard times, it may point to emotional unavailability or a communication mismatch. Folks, a grown man will simply say, hey, I need time to process something. A grown boy takes silence. How you respond to it matters most. I'm just giving you some perspective here, but most important, this is data for you. And you can simply check in with them saying, hey, I've noticed it seems like you've shut down. I'm here when you're ready to talk. But that doesn't mean you hold your life for him. It doesn't mean being a doormat to him either. And quite frankly, in the beginning stages, as I said earlier, trust hasn't been built. But for a seasoned relationship, it's either shit or get off the pot. Oops, I used a dirty word on my Sunday videos. Use the silence as data. And number 7, choose self-respect over self-doubt. Choose self-respect over self-doubt. If someone is inconsistent, leaves you anxious, they may not be a fit for the kind of connection you want. And in a seasoned relationship, you're allowed to need communication. You are allowed to need communication. If silence becomes an emotional punishment, boundaries are love, not drama. Folks, choosing self-respect, self-worth, self-esteem, self-confidence, self-love is the whole point of this. This isn't about finding a relationship with someone else. It's finding the relationship with you and yourself to regulate your own emotions. And for the women watching this and going back to the original question that came up, how should you react? I've just given you 7 examples of a way to shift your perspective. And remember, if it's not right for him, it's not right for you either. And I know it can be painful when you've invested in someone emotionally and you care for someone emotionally, but I'm here to encourage everyone to start dating as a grown-up. Let's have those tougher conversations early on before we get our heart invested in someone who's not really willing to go the distance. Is this sinking in? Is this resonating with you? Please let me know. If it is, I'd like to hear your thoughts. Post a comment below. As always, if you find value in my videos, please hit that like button. Please share this video. Please subscribe to my channel. Hit that notification bell so you can be notified of new videos. And if you want to connect with me, there's links below to either schedule a discovery call with me, to join my group, to follow me on Instagram, to get my dating vows, all listed below. All right, I'm going to wrap up this video as I always do. First off, give myself a big, gigantic Jonathon bear hug of self-love. I'm going to reach into the camera and give you a hug of love if that's okay. I'm asking you to turn to someone, a pet, a teddy bear, a pillow, and give it or them a hug of love, because hugs are a great source of love. And let's face it, we could all use more love in our lives. Thanks a bunch. Bye-bye now. Bye-bye.